There is a certain kind of person in America. You probably know one. Maybe you are one. This person does not call a plumber when a pipe leaks. They do not call a contractor when a wall needs opening. They do not take their car to the shop for an oil change or pay someone $200 to hang a ceiling fan or hire a crew to pressure wash the driveway. This person handles it. Not because they have to, because they are built that way. They look at a problem and see a project. They look at a broken thing and see something that can be fixed. They have a garage that other people walk into and go quiet for a second, looking around. And the reason the garage is what it is the tools in it. This video is for that person. If you are watching this, there's a good chance that person is you. We are going to go through every tool, every category, every piece of equipment that belongs in the kit of someone who does it themselves. All of it. No shortcuts, 2.5 hours, and let us get into it. Before we go anywhere, we need to talk about the mindset behind the kit. Because a DIY kit is not just a collection of tools, it is a system. Every serious DIYer who has been doing this for years will tell you the same thing. The most expensive mistake is buying the wrong tool for a job, doing the job badly because of it, and then buying the right tool anyway. The second most expensive mistake is buying cheap versions of critical tools that fail mid-project and have to be replaced. The philosophy behind everything in this video is buy it once, buy it right, buy it in a platform that scales. That means picking a cordless tool battery ecosystem, DeWalt 20V Max, Milwaukee M18, Ryobi 18V 1 Plus, or Makita LXT, and building your entire cordless collection inside that system. Batteries are the real investment. The tools are almost interchangeable. But a battery from one brand does not work in another brand's tool. Pick your platform in the first 10 minutes of building your kit and commit to it. Every battery you buy after that serves every tool in your collection. By the time you have 10 cordless tools in one platform, and you will, that compatibility is worth hundreds of dollars. Now, let us build the kit. We are going category by category, from the tools you reach for every day to the specialized equipment that unlocks jobs most people never attempt themselves. Every tool has a price range, a recommended brand, and a clear explanation of what it enables you to do that you cannot do without it. Category 1. Cutting tools, the foundation of everything, the cordless circular saw in your platform. 7¼ inch blade, brushless motor, brake that stops the blade within 2 seconds of releasing the trigger. This is the tool that turns sheet goods, 4x8 plywood, OSB, cement board, into usable pieces. It rips lumber to width on a straight edge guide. It crosscuts framing lumber faster than any other portable tool. It cuts flooring, roof decking, subflooring, siding, and virtually any flat material you will encounter in construction or renovation. The blade choice matters more than most people realize. The saw comes with a general-purpose 24-tooth blade that is adequate for framing and rough cuts. Add a 40-tooth finish blade for cabinet-grade plywood cuts and a 60-tooth blade for ultra-clean crosscuts in finished trim. 3 blades, $20 to $35 total. And you have a saw that handles every cutting situation cleanly. A DeWalt DCS Patsat Semdesat or Milwaukee 2 Trio Den runs $100 to $120 tool only. This is day 1 of the kit. The miter saw. 10-inch sliding compound. This is the crown jewel of the cutting category and the tool that separates DIYers who do finish work from DIYers who cannot. A sliding compound miter saw makes crosscuts, miter cuts, bevel cuts, and compound cuts. Combinations of miter and bevel simultaneously in one motion at any angle, repeatably. Crown molding, baseboard, door casing, window trim, deck boards, stair stringers, rafter tails, all of it done in seconds at exact angles. The sliding feature extends the crosscut capacity to boards up to 12 inches wide, which covers virtually every dimensional lumber size you will encounter. A DeWalt DWS Sem Devet or Bosch GCM Adin VSD runs $200 to $350. It is the single most used stationary tool in a serious DIY kit. Once you own one, the idea of cutting trim with a circular saw feels barbaric. The table saw. Contractor-style 10-inch portable table saw. This is where you cross the line from doing repairs to actually building things. A table saw rips sheet goods and lumber to exact widths. It makes dado cuts. It cuts rabbets. It makes the joinery that holds furniture, cabinets, shelving, and built-in structures together. Without a table saw, everything you build is constrained by the widths that come off the lumber rack. With a table saw, you make exactly the width you need every time to a 32nd of an inch. A DeWalt DWE Sam491 RS on its rolling stand, or a Bosch 4000 costs $300 to $450. Buy it with a zero-clearance throat plate insert and a quality rip fence. The stock fence on most contractor saws is adequate, but an aftermarket fence from Biedermeier or Vega dramatically improves accuracy and ease of use. The Reciprocating Saw. Milwaukee Fuel or DeWalt FlexVolt version in your cordless platform. Cord it if you want maximum power. This is demolition, renovation, emergency cuts, cuts in places no other saw reaches. Bimetal blades cut nails, screws, and wood simultaneously, which is the reality of any renovation work where you are cutting through existing structure. Demo blades are thick, aggressive, and designed to flex without breaking. Pruning blades handle branches and outdoor overgrowth. Metal cutting blades handle conduit, rebar, and structural steel when necessary. A serious DIYer burns through reciprocating saw blades faster than almost any other consumable. Buy them in packs of 25. They are cheap and dull faster than any other blade type. The saw itself, $75 to $120 cordless in your platform. The Jigsaw. Orbital action, variable speed, tool-free blade change. For curves, cutouts, and any cut that requires following a line rather than a straight edge. Sink cutouts in countertops, curved decorative cuts, notching around obstacles, cutting shapes in plywood for built-in projects. The orbital action setting, which moves the blade in an elliptical path rather than straight up and down, dramatically speeds up cutting in wood, while the straight setting handles metal and plastics cleanly. A quality jigsaw with tool-free blade change runs $50 to $90 cordless in your platform. An oscillating multi-tool. This is one of the most versatile tools that exists, and one of the most underestimated by people who do not own one. The oscillating action, a blade vibrating side to side at high frequency rather than rotating or reciprocating, does things no other tool can do cleanly. It cuts flush to a surface. It undercuts door casings to slide flooring underneath without removing the casing. It cuts grout out of tile joints. It cuts drywall in tight corners. It sands in corners where no other sander reaches. It scrapes adhesive off floors. It cuts through nails flush to a surface without damaging anything around them. A fine multi-master is the gold standard at $250 to $300. DeWalt and Milwaukee make excellent versions in their platforms for $80 to $120. If you ever install flooring, do tile work, or renovate anything, this tool earns its place immediately. A band saw. This is the first tool on the list that takes the kit from serious to exceptional. A 14-inch benchtop band saw cuts curves in thick material that no jigsaw can handle. 3 inches of hardwood, curved cuts in lumber for furniture legs and architectural details, resawing thick boards into thinner slabs. It also cuts metal with the appropriate blade. A quality 14-inch bandsaw from Rikon, Jet, or Wen runs $250 to $400. It is not a day-one purchase. It is the tool you add when your projects start to demand it, and when they do, nothing else substitutes. Category 2. Drilling and fastening. The most used tools in the kit. The cordless drill driver. We have covered this extensively in previous videos. Brushless 18 or 20 volt in your platform with 2 batteries minimum. The specific capability to highlight here is torque settings. The clutch ring on a drill driver that limits the maximum torque it delivers before slipping, preventing overdriving screws and stripping soft materials. Learning your drill's clutch settings for different applications, driving screws into drywall, driving lag bolts into framing, drilling through tile, is the difference between a professional result and a damaged surface. Setting 1 through 5 for fine work in soft materials. Setting 15 through 20 for driving structural fasteners, full drill mode for drilling, Know your drill. The cordless impact driver. Same platform, same charger. An impact driver delivers rotational impacts rather than continuous torque, which means it drives long screws and structural fasteners faster and with dramatically less effort than a drill. It also breaks loose rusted fasteners that a drill cannot touch. The limitation of an impact driver is precision. It is harder to control at the end of a screw because the impacts continue past the point where the screw is seated. Use the drill for finish work where overdriving damages surfaces. Use the impact driver for structural fastening and anything where speed matters more than precision. Together they cover every fastening application. A cordless hammer drill. Different from a regular drill in one specific way. It adds a hammering action in the axial direction, forward and backward, while the bit rotates. This hammering action is what allows drilling into concrete, brick, and masonry. Without it, a standard drill bit skids uselessly on a concrete surface. With it, you drill anchors for shelving, outdoor lighting, fence posts into concrete footings, and any masonry application. Most cordless platforms have a 3-in-1 model that functions as a regular drill, a hammer drill, and a screwdriver in one tool. The 3-in-1 costs $100 to $160 tool only and eliminates the need for a dedicated hammer drill in most DIY applications. A rotary hammer. This is different from a hammer drill, and it matters. A rotary hammer uses an electro-pneumatic mechanism, a piston that compresses air to drive the bit, rather than the mechanical cam action of a hammer drill. The result is dramatically more impact energy per blow. A rotary hammer drills through concrete 10 to 15 times faster than a hammer drill and handles applications a hammer drill cannot, drilling large diameter holes in concrete, chipping and demolition work with a chisel bit, core drilling. If you do significant masonry work, installing anchor bolts, drilling through foundation walls, cutting channels in concrete for conduit, a rotary hammer is not optional. A Bosch 1.1, 2.5, VSR or Milwaukee patch 6.16, 2.0 in SDS-Plus bit configuration runs $120 to $200 corded. It is a specialized tool that, once you own it, you use on every masonry project you ever encounter. A pocket hole jig system. Kreg is the dominant brand and the one worth buying. A pocket hole jig drills angled holes in the end of a board that accepts self-tapping pocket hole screws driven at an angle into the adjacent board, pulling the joint tight. The result is a strong, fast, invisible joinery method that requires no clamps, no dowels, no mortises, just 2 holes, 2 screws, and the joint is done. Pocket hole joinery is used in cabinet face frames, furniture assembly, window and door frames, built-in shelving, and any application where you need a strong right-angle joint quickly. A Kreg Jig R Tri-Starter Kit costs $30 to $40. A Kreg Jig 320 or 720 Pro, the versions serious DIYers use, costs $60 to $120. Every piece of furniture and cabinetry you build after owning a pocket hole jig will be built with it. It is one of the highest value-to-cost ratios of any tool in the kit. Category 3. Measuring, layout, and marking. The category that determines whether the finished product is precise or approximate. Precision is a habit, not a talent. Every measurement error that produces a bad cut, a misaligned installation, or a joint that does not close cleanly is a preventable error, prevented by the right measuring tools used correctly. The DIYer who measures once and cuts immediately makes different work than the DIYer who measures twice, marks clearly, and confirms the layout before any material is committed to a cut. A quality tape measure, 25 feet 1-inch blade width, magnetic tip. The magnetic tip sticks to metal surfaces for solo measuring. The 1-inch blade stands out without buckling far enough to solo measure most room dimensions. Milwaukee, Stanley Fatmax, and FastCap all make excellent versions for $12 to $25. The blade markings matter. Buy one with clearly printed fractional measurements and a standout of at least 9 feet. Replace the tape when the blade markings become difficult to read. A tape that is difficult to read produces measurement errors. A combination square, 12-inch high quality. Starrett makes the best combination squares available, and they run $35 to $55. Empire and Swanson make adequate versions for $15 to $25. The combination square is the most used layout tool in the kit for a reason. It marks consistent distance lines from an edge, checks 90-degree accuracy of cuts and assemblies, marks 45-degree angles, and with the head removed becomes a precise straight edge. The head should lock solidly on the blade at any position. If it slips or shifts, the square is inaccurate and everything marked with it is wrong. A good combination square is a precision tool. Treat it accordingly. Store it where it cannot be dropped and check it for accuracy periodically against a known reference. A speed square, 7-inch aluminum. Swanson is the original and still the best for $8 to $12. The speed square is the carpenter's constant companion. It marks perpendicular cut lines instantly from the edge of a board, reads rafter angles, guides a circular saw for square crosscuts when used as a fence against the shoe plate, and checks assemblies for square quickly. It lives in your apron pocket or on the bench within arm's reach at all times during any framing or carpentry project. A framing square. 24 by 16-inch steel. This is the large format layout tool. Laying out stair stringers, checking large assemblies for square, laying out rafter cuts, marking sheet goods. A quality Swanson framing square costs $12 to $20 and is used constantly in framing and structural work. The rafter tables printed on quality framing squares give you rise and run calculations directly without any math, a feature that makes stair and rafter layout accessible to anyone who knows how to read the table. A self-leveling laser level. The tool that transforms installation work. A cross-line laser that projects a level horizontal line and a plumb vertical line simultaneously across an entire room. For tile installation, your reference grid goes on the wall in 2 minutes rather than 30. For cabinet installation, the level line is there before the first cabinet goes up, ensuring every cabinet references the same datum regardless of floor variation. For wainscoting, chair rail, picture hanging at scale, any installation requiring a level reference across a distance, the laser does in seconds what a spirit level does in minutes. A Bosch GLL treats it, Johnson 40617 or DeWalt DW088K runs $40 to $80 for a quality self-leveling unit. Buy one with a magnetic mount so it locks onto metal studs and mounting brackets without needing a tripod. A digital angle finder. For any situation where the angle is unknown and must be measured from the existing surface rather than specified. Inside and outside, corner angles for crown molding and baseboard, stair angles for handrail work, roof pitch angles for matching existing structure. You hold the digital angle finder against the surface, it reads the exact angle digitally, and you transfer that exact angle to your miter saw. Without it, these measurements require a bevel gauge and a protractor or trial and error cuts in scrap material. With it, one reading, one setup, first cut is right. Costs $12 to $25, used every time trim work involves a non-standard angle, a chalk line and chalk refill, snapping perfectly straight reference lines across distances that no straight edge can span, flooring layout, tile grid layout, sheet good cut lines, siding courses. Any installation requiring a straight reference line over more than a few feet. A quality chalk line with a secure winding mechanism costs $8 to $15. Keep chalk in blue for temporary lines, blue chalk wipes off, and red for permanent reference marks. Do not snap red chalk on finished surfaces you care about. It does not wash off. A plumb bob, gravity-referenced vertical, transfers a ceiling point directly to the floor, establishes a plumb reference line for layout, checks whether walls and structures are plumb without a level long enough to span the full height. In the age of laser levels, a plumb bob is faster and more reliable in some applications, particularly outdoors where laser beams are hard to see and wind does not affect a hanging weight. A quality plumb bob on braided line costs $5 to $15. A moisture meter. Wood moisture content determines how that wood will behave after installation. A board installed at 18% moisture content in a heated interior space will dry to 7 or 8% over the following months, shrinking measurably. In flooring, this shrinkage causes gaps between boards. In cabinetry, it causes panels to crack and joints to open. In exterior trim, it causes paint to peel as the wood moves beneath the film. Check every piece of wood you install with a moisture meter before it goes in. Match the moisture content to the expected service conditions. Wood for interior heated spaces should be at 6 to 8%. Wood for exterior applications can be higher. A quality moisture meter from General Tools or Lignamat runs $25 to $60 and pays for itself the first time it prevents a flooring or paint failure. A digital caliper. We covered this in the car video, but it belongs in every serious DIY kit regardless of whether cars are involved. Measuring thickness of existing materials to match replacements. Measuring drill bit diameters. Measuring the actual size of dimensional lumber. A 2x4 is not 2x4, it is 1.5 by 3.5. Knowing actual dimensions rather than nominal dimensions prevents measurement errors in joinery. A 6-inch digital caliper, accurate to 1/100th of a millimeter, costs $12 to $25. Category 4, Shaping and Finishing, the tools that turn raw material into finished work. A random orbital sander, 5-inch variable speed, hook and loop pad. This is the primary finishing tool for wood surfaces. It removes mill marks from dimensional lumber, levels dry joint compound before painting, scuffs primer for adhesion, and prepares any wood surface for stain, paint, or clear finish. The random orbital action, combining rotation with an orbital offset, prevents the swirl marks that a straight orbital sander leaves. Variable speed lets you dial down for final fine grit passes and dial up for aggressive material removal with coarse grits. Keep a selection of discs from 60 grit through 220, 60 and 80 for heavy stock removal and shaping, 120 for general preparation, 180 and 220 for final finishing before finish application. A quality random orbital sander from Rigid, DeWalt, or Festool runs $25 for a budget-corded version, up to $300 for a Festool ETS-EC with dust collection. Start with a quality mid-range unit at $40 to $70. A detail sander, also called a mouse sander, the triangular pad sander reaches into corners, tight angles, and profiles that a random orbital cannot access. Sanding inside corners on furniture, getting into the profile of molding, reaching into tight cabinet spaces. A detail sander costs $15 to $35 and works in concert with the random orbital to cover every surface. A belt sander. 3 by 21 inch is the most common homeowner useful size. A belt sander removes material faster than any other sanding tool for leveling high spots in wood floors, removing old paint or finish from large flat surfaces, shaping lumber quickly, and knocking down rough surfaces to manageable condition. It is an aggressive tool. Used incorrectly, pressing too hard, holding it in one spot, going across the grain, it dishes surfaces and leaves scratches that require significant work to remove. Used correctly, moving continuously, following the grain, using appropriate grit progressions, it transforms rough surfaces into finished ones faster than anything else. A quality belt sander from Makita or DeWalt runs $60 to $120, a thickness planer. This is the tool that unlocks working with rough-sawn lumber bought directly from a mill or salvaged from demolition at a fraction of the cost of dimensioned lumber from a home center. A thickness planer reduces a board to a precise, consistent thickness and produces a surface that requires only light sanding before finishing. Without a planer, you are limited to purchasing dimension lumber at retail prices. With a planer, you buy rough-sawn lumber for 30 to 50% less and produce surface lumber yourself. A 12-inch benchtop thickness planer from DeWalt, Rigid, or Jet runs $250 to $400. It is the woodworking tool that most dramatically reduces material costs for anyone who builds furniture or cabinets at any volume. A router and router table. The router is the tool that profiles edges, cuts dados and grooves, makes template-guided cuts, and produces decorative profiles in wood that no other tool approaches. A router table mounts the router upside down in a table so the bit projects upward, turning it into a precision shaping machine where the work moves past the bit rather than the tool moving over the work. This configuration is safer, more precise, and faster for repetitive profiling operations. A quality router, Bosch Adin Chestadin Sem, DeWalt DWP Chestadin Adin, or Makita RT 0 Sem 0 Adin, runs $70 to $120. A router table runs $120 to $250 for a quality benchtop version. Together, they profile cabinet door edges, produce tongue-and-groove joinery, cut decorative molding profiles, and handle any edge or groove operation that defines the quality of furniture and cabinet work. A wood lathe, for turning, producing round and curved profiles by rotating a workpiece against cutting tools, table legs, stair balusters, bowls, handles, decorative spindles. A lathe is the tool that produces shapes impossible to achieve any other way, and turning is a craft discipline in itself. A 12-inch swing, benchtop variable speed lathe from Jet, Nova, or Rikon runs $300 to $600 for a quality entry-level version. If you are drawn to wood turning, and many serious DIYers eventually are, this is the tool that opens it up. A scroll saw, for detailed interior cuts, fretwork, decorative patterns, inlay, puzzle pieces, and any application requiring precision curved cuts in thin material that a bandsaw cannot approach. A quality scroll saw from DeWalt, Hawk, or Hegner runs $150 to $500. If any portion of your DIY work involves decorative woodwork, intarsia, or detailed patterned cuts, a scroll saw earns its place. Category 5. Concrete, masonry, and heavy work. A rotary hammer, covered in the drilling section, the essential tool for any masonry penetration or anchor installation. An angle grinder. 4.5 inch with a selection of wheels, cutting wheels for steel, rebar, and pipe, grinding wheels for metal surface preparation and weld cleanup, flap discs for blending and finishing metal surfaces, wire cut brushes for rust and paint removal, diamond cup wheels for surface grinding concrete, masonry cutting wheels for brick, block, and tile. A single angle grinder with a selection of appropriate wheels handles every metal and masonry cutting and grinding task in the kit. A quality corded angle grinder from DeWalt or Makita runs $25 to $50. An angle grinder is one of the most dangerous tools in the kit. The forces involved are significant, and a binding disc can cause the tool to kick violently. Face shield mandatory, work gloves. Keep both hands on the tool at all times and position yourself out of the plane of the disc. A concrete mixer for any masonry project requiring more than a bag or two of concrete or mortar. Setting fence posts, pouring footings, laying a brick or block wall. Hand mixing more than 2 bags of concrete is physically exhausting and produces inconsistent results. An electric drum mixer handles 3 to 4 cubic feet per batch and runs continuously for the duration of the pour. An electric concrete mixer, 3.5 cubic foot capacity, runs $250 to $400. Renting one from a hardware store runs $40 to $80 per day. If you set multiple fence posts per year or do any volume of masonry work, owning one is worth the cost quickly. Category 6. Plumbing tools for the complete DIYer. Copper pipe soldering, a propane torch kit, torch head, fuel cylinder, spark lighter. The torch for sweating copper fittings, heating the fitting, applying solder that flows into the joint by capillary action, producing a watertight permanent connection. This is how all residential copper plumbing was joined for decades and still is in most renovation and repair contexts. The skill required is modest: clean pipe, proper flux, correct heat application, controlled solder feed. A propane torch kit runs $20 to $35. Copper fittings cost 50 cents to $2 each. Solder and flux cost $10 to $15 for enough to do dozens of joints. The labor to have a plumber sweat a joint is $40 to $80 per joint in most markets. The math is immediate. PX plumbing tools, PEX, cross-linked polyethylene, has largely replaced copper in new residential construction because it is cheaper, installs faster, does not require soldering, and is freeze-resistant. PEX is joined with one of 3 systems: crimp, clamp, or expansion. The expansion system, Uponor AquaPEX with ProPEX fittings, is the strongest and most professional, but requires an expansion tool that costs $200 to $400. The crimp and clamp systems use rings and tools that cost $30 to $80. For a DIYer doing residential plumbing in a renovation context, a PEX crimp tool and a supply of crimp rings and fittings handles water supply line work in every situation short of commercial plumbing. Shark Bite push-fit fittings require no tools at all. Push the pipe in and it locks, and are appropriate for repairs and connections where soldering or crimping is impractical. They cost more per fitting, but the labor savings are significant. A pipe threader. For galvanized steel pipework, increasingly rare in new construction but still found in commercial applications, gas line work in some jurisdictions, and older homes, a ratcheting pipe threader with dies for common pipe sizes, ½ inch, ¾ inch, 1 inch, costs $60 to $120 for a quality set from Rigid or Wheeler Rex. If you work on older homes or commercial properties, a pipe threader is a necessary tool. If your work is primarily residential renovation using copper and PEX, it is optional. A drain camera. A self-propelled or pushrod inspection camera for diagnosing drain blockages and pipe condition. A pushrod camera with a 60-foot cable and a monitor runs $100 to $200 for homeowner-grade equipment. Plumbers charge $150 to $300 to run a camera through a drain line for diagnostic purposes. If you manage rental properties or older homes with chronic drain issues, owning a drain camera pays for itself in a single use. Category 7. Electrical tools for the serious DIYer, a panel directory and circuit mapping, not a tool, a system. Before you do any electrical work in any building you own, you need a complete, accurate circuit directory, knowing which breaker controls which outlet, switch, and fixture in every room. If yours is incomplete or inaccurate, a circuit tracer, a transmitter that you plug into an outlet, and a receiver that you hold against breakers to identify which one controls that circuit, costs $30 to $60 and maps your entire panel in an afternoon, a non-contact voltage tester. The fundamental electrical safety tool. You hold it near any wire, outlet, or switch. It beeps and lights if there is live voltage present, stays silent if the circuit is dead. You use this before touching any wire, period, every time. A Klein CL Vosum SOT or Flukadin ACA Adin 2 runs $10 to $25. If you do electrical work and do not own one of these, stop, buy one, and never skip it. Electricity that you think is off is the most dangerous electricity. A clamp meter. For measuring current, amperes, flowing through a circuit without breaking the circuit to insert a meter. You clamp the meter jaws around a single conductor and it reads the current magnetically. Useful for diagnosing overloaded circuits, verifying circuit load against breaker rating, and testing motor loads. A quality clamp meter from Klein or Fluke runs $40 to $100. For the DIYer who does any significant electrical work, a clamp meter provides diagnostic capability that a standard multimeter cannot. Wire strippers with built-in crimper. For stripping insulation from wire without nicking the conductor, a nick in a conductor is a future failure point, and for crimping connectors. A quality wire stripper handles 10 through 22 gauge wire with dedicated stripping holes for each gauge. Klein J, 22/8 or Ideal 4/5 Adin 2.0 run $15 to $25. Cheap wire strippers nick conductors. Quality wire strippers do not. A fish tape and fish sticks for pulling wire through finished walls without opening them. A fish tape, a flat coil of spring steel with a hooked end, pushes through wall cavities from one opening to another, then pulls a wire back through. Fish sticks, rigid fiberglass rods that connect to span longer distances, push through horizontal blocking in walls that would stop a fish tape. Together, they handle 90% of wire pulling situations in finished construction. A quality fish tape costs $25 to $50. Fish sticks come in sets of 6 for $20 to $30. A conduit bender. For bending EMT conduit, the thin-walled metal tubing used to protect exposed wiring runs, to any angle without kinking it. A ½ inch conduit bender handles the most common residential and light commercial conduit size. An Ideal or Greenlee handbender costs $15 to $35. Conduit work is a skill that takes practice to produce clean, accurate bends, but the tool itself is inexpensive and the skill is learnable. Category 8. Finishing and painting tools, an airless paint sprayer. For any painting project beyond a single room, a sprayer produces a finish quality, a coverage speed, and a material efficiency that rollers and brushes cannot match. An airless sprayer atomizes paint at high pressure, typically 2,000 to 3,000 psi, producing a fine mist that flows into surface texture and produces a smooth, even film. The learning curve involves mastering distance, speed, and overlap. Too close produces runs, too far produces dry spray, inconsistent speed produces thick and thin bands. But once the technique is dialed in, a sprayer covers a room in a fraction of the time of rolling, with a noticeably better finish. A home-right finish. Max or Graco Magnum X Pat runs $70 to $120 for homeowner-grade units capable of handling latex paint. A Graco Magnum X7 at $140 to $170 handles thicker materials and longer spray sessions. Clean the sprayer immediately after use. Dried paint in the pump is expensive to repair. A paint roller frame with 9-inch cage, a 1/2-inch nap roller for smooth to medium texture surfaces, a 3/4-inch nap roller for rough and heavy texture surfaces, both in synthetic covers for water-based paints. Quality roller covers produce significantly better finish than cheap ones. Cheap covers shed fibers into the paint film and hold less paint, requiring more loading and more passes. A Worcester or Purdy roller cover costs $3 to $7 each and is worth every cent of the difference over a $2 cover from the discount bin. A quality roller frame with a comfortable grip costs $8 to $15 and holds up for years with cleaning after each use. A set of quality brushes, a 2.5-inch angled sash brush for cutting in edges, around trim, at ceiling lines, around outlets and fixtures, a 4-inch flat brush for larger surface areas and masonry. Both in synthetic bristle for water-based paints, natural bristle for oil-based. Purdy and Worcester are the gold standard at $10 to $25 per brush. A quality brush loads more paint, releases it more evenly, leaves fewer brush marks, and cleans out more completely than a cheap brush. Clean brushes immediately after use. Work conditioner through the bristles before storage to maintain flex. Store hanging vertically with bristles down or horizontally. Never stored on the bristles. A drywall tool set, 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch drywall knives. A corner tool for inside corners.